Hey everyone, this is acyuta-bhava from Nightlight Astrology. Happy Friday, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at some of the stories that you guys have been sharing over the past couple of weeks. As many of you know, as I track the transits every month, I always invite people to share their stories using the hashtag grabbed. The planets were called grahas in Indian astrology, which means grabbers, can also mean to grasp or to understand. And so we talk a lot about on my channel about the planets as things that can kind of seize our consciousness or grab our lives. And we don't even know what's going on. We get caught up in the mix of these transits. And it's through astrology that we're able to reflect upon these actions in our lives and understand the archetypes, the gods, the powers and energies of divinity that are at play in our lives and reflect upon them, and then come to a more meaningful relationship with those energies in our day-to-day life. That's the whole point of doing astrology, really. And so once in a while, what I like to do is zoom out and ask to hear, like share the stories that you guys have been posting on the YouTube comment section and by email. If you ever have a story to share, you can always just use the hashtag grabbed and then put the transit. For example, today we're going to take a look at a bunch of Venus square Jupiter, Venus opposite Uranus, and a few Mercury square Pluto stories from the past couple of weeks. So you could just put hashtag grabbed and then the transit. Let's say it's Mercury square Pluto, and then a concise, short couple of sentences or a short paragraph describing what you experienced in your life that matches up with the transit and maybe what you learned from it. So that's the point of this series. Really excited to share a new batch of stories today. Some of these are honestly like so touching, and one in particular we're going to look at today is just heartbreaking. A lot of them are really funny. The planets are working in our lives in so many different ways, big and small, and the small ones are just as important to recognize as the big ones. So this is a chance to celebrate, the absurdity of the cosmic play that we're a part of, as well as the humor and the lessons and the heart and soul of it all. So I hope you guys enjoyed this series. Before I dive into it today, we're going to do two things. One, I'm going to tell you about my upcoming course, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, and then we're going to take a look at the transits that we're visiting today on the real-time clock. So let me put this up on the screen. My new class, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, begins November 13th. It's coming up soon now, so be sure that you register. Use that early bird discount and save about $500 off when you join right now. It's a good deal to take advantage of. There's also a payment plan, 12 monthly payments, also tuition assistance if you're in need of some help. And you can read the requirements for that if you click the Apply Now button. This is under my first year course page on the Nightlight Astrology website. The class is, in my opinion, it is probably the best thing that I've ever created. It's something that I'm always fine-tuning. I have a whole staff of people now that help me with this program. It's become really sort of like one of the great works of my life. In this class, what we're doing is we're digging into the ancient history, philosophy, and spiritual foundations of astrology from 2,500 years ago. Long ago, astrology was less of the study of character and behavior and psychology, although that was a part of it. And then it was a predictive karmic science. So one of the things that you're doing in this class is you're learning how to go down to the roots, understand what the spiritual, metaphysical foundations of all, why do we use any of these things like planets, houses, signs, aspects, dignities, essential and accidental dignities. And we're learning this ancient craft as a way of sharpening mostly our descriptive and predictive skills in terms of looking at a person's life and being able to describe their kshetra, their field of karma that they're born into, and what kinds of themes and actions are likely to happen in different areas of life. With that in mind, we build as the class goes on. This is why the class is called Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. We build into different modern aspects of the practice, which would include things like talking to people about their character, behavior, psychology in relationship to their karma and to the fate outlined by the chart through the ancient approach. So it's really a fusion in many ways of modern psychological astrology and ancient predictive astrology. We go over 30 lessons. They're all 2 to 3 hours long through webinars. You can be live or you can pick up the recordings on the class website. You get to download and keep all the content for the year. There's also 12 guest lecturers that come in outside of those 30 classes, so 42 on the year. And then we have breakout study sessions in between our major units so you can attend and get some extra tutoring help if you need it. We also have year-round support from a tutoring staff. You can email me year-round. And there's also recommended reading, listening, optional assessments like quizzes. There's a certification test at the end if you want to take that. And the other thing that's really great about the program is that about the end of the program, I think, honestly, I think this is my favorite part about the program. We spend a lot of time with live clients breaking down their charts. You'll see me read for them. You'll see all that we're studying in practice, including, picking up on different kinds of astrological counseling skills, we'll call them. And then we break those sessions down so that you guys can ask questions and prepare to read charts for yourself or for other people. So it is a great way to get to know your own birth chart, to learn how to read for other people. Again, if you have any questions about it, feel free to email us, info@nightlightastrology.com, or check out the first year course page at nightlightastrology.com. Thank you guys so much for letting me do promo. I really appreciate it. I know that, this time of year, I'm usually in promotion mode for this class. We also have later this month, I'll be advertising a more advanced program that we have coming up called Readings and Passages for people who are either in one of my programs or have graduated from it, or who have already taken a Hellenistic astrology training course. So stay tuned for more about that too. All right, so what are we taking a look at here today? Well, we're going to take a look at a few stories from Mercury square to Pluto, which has been going on this week and last week. It's perfecting today again. And that's October 1st. Happy October, everybody. And then also, if we back things up just a little bit, you might remember that on September 23rd, thereabouts, we also had Venus opposing Uranus. And then after that, if Venus is moving forward just a little bit, right around September 30th, just over the past couple of days, we also had Venus square to Jupiter. So 3 transits that I'm going to share stories with you guys about today: Venus opposite Uranus, Venus square Jupiter, and then Mercury square to Pluto. So let's hear the stories you guys had to share. Some of these are they're just unbelievable. I'm going to start with what I think is they're in no particular order, so I'm just running through them. Now, remember that what we're doing month by month is we're talking about these transits, we're breaking them down, and then I'm gathering and aggregating all of the stories that you guys share about these transits so that we can reflect on them on a deeper level. Don't skip these videos. These videos are so important because they're going to teach you how to develop your archetypal eye. By hearing the stories of other people, you're essentially getting the kind of feedback on the symbols that astrologers get by reading charts for people every day. It's really, really important to hear story after example of people living lives with the planets showing up in these transits. Otherwise, it all lives in some kind of weird adjectival, association box in your head. And it's impossible to make it come alive. So not only that, but it's important to gain the lessons from these transits. And you can hear and think about the kinds of lessons that people are getting just by hearing the stories, because you can imagine, well, what would I have learned from such a situation? So at any rate, let's start off. Here's one about Venus square to Jupiter. I usually keep a break on any ice cream consumption since nothing more effectively translates into additional pounds on the scale for me. On Thursday, though, I had oral surgery and was sent home with a pint of chocolate ice cream with instructions to eat nothing but cold, soft food for 3 days. I've just sent my husband to the store to get more cartons of ice cream. I am relishing a Venus-Jupiter feast for the next 3 days. So perfect example of someone who suddenly is required to eat nothing but luxurious, indulgent food for a few days. All right. Venus opposite Uranus. This one is tough. So remember, Venus opposite Uranus can result in sudden disruptions in relationships. This is someone sharing a story about a friend that this happened during Venus's opposition to Uranus. Past week, my friend miscarried at 4 months. While at the hospital, her husband blamed her for the miscarriage in a display of emotional betrayal and cruelty, and then abandoned her at the hospital. She said that no fewer than 5 nurses approached her afterwards to console her, everyone completely shocked at the husband's behavior. She's now filing for divorce to end the the 4-month marriage, which was the culmination of a 12-year relationship they had. So they had gotten married at about right at the time that she had gotten pregnant. And about 4 months later, she miscarried. About 4 months into the marriage, in the hospital, husband has this total emotional meltdown and is cruel and abandons her there and blames her for the miscarriage. She files for divorce. Ouch. My heart goes out to you. All of our hearts go out to you. Our prayers go out to you. May you be healed and whole through all of this. And may there be a next better phase of life. We're sorry for your loss. Venus square to Jupiter. This one's kind of more uplifting. After 2 years of very long hours at the office and managing a perfectionist boss, I received a $20,000 off-cycle raise. That's a great example of Venus square Jupiter. That's way to go. Congratulations for managing a perfectionist boss and getting a raise eventually. Mercury square Pluto. My husband found out recently, which came as a complete surprise, that he may lose his job of 35 years. We both are planners and had a path toward retirement and how we saw our future in 10 years. And to say this has us in a tailspin is an understatement. So the revealing, disturbing news of the potential loss of a job. And she mentioned that Mercury is stationing and retrograding and square to Pluto in her husband's 10th house of career. So our heart goes out to you guys too. We hope you guys get through that. Venus opposite Uranus. This one's kind of irreverent and very typically Venus opposite Uranus. We went out for a meal, all drank too much, and we ended up in a strip club. We had one young intern that had never been to a strip club. We had a couple who work together have a dance from a stripper. Slowly, one by one, we all ended up getting dances. It was totally crazy and something very out of the ordinary for us. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if this has anything to do with the transit, but even my conservative personal assistant got a dance, which was so surprising. Everyone had a ton of fun. It was a really memorable evening, but definitely not one that can be repeated on a company work night out. It's terrible. That is so the irreverence of Venus opposite Uranus and the fun and you know, a kind of erotic, exotic display that you might expect from Venus opposite Uranus. I hope you're all safe and respectful. Venus opposite Uranus. I'm an esthetician that specializes in anti-aging and I work at a spa. Yesterday, I had an unexpected meeting with my boss. I've been dealing with her bullying me for about 2 years and I finally stood up for myself, which was an amazing breakthrough. It felt so freeing to finally blow, but in a constructive way that has been needed for some time. I needed something like this to happen to get me out of a very toxic work environment. There you go, Venus opposite Uranus. Just kicking ass at taking names. All right, Venus opposite Uranus. I had a fight with my boyfriend yesterday. He left for Berlin early in the morning. He slept on the couch and didn't say goodbye. Oh man, that sucks. I'm really sorry to hear that. Very Venus Uranus though, and hopefully it'll blow over quickly for you guys. Venus opposite Uranus. I got a personal stylist to come over to my house and help me reorganize my wardrobe and mix and matched all of my clothes so that I ended up with 10 new outfits from my existing things. I didn't plan it according to the planets, but it's interesting that it timed out that way. Yeah, there you go. Venus opposite Uranus, a surprise wardrobe rearrangement. This one is like, some of the stuff you just can't make up. It's like, wow. My husband and I are both full-time potters. We have a 35 cubic foot propane fueled salt kiln. I started firing over 100 pots last evening. Our firing run 24 plus hours. And when I got up at midnight to check on it, I slipped on the step to the kiln shed and broke my foot. So I had been worrying that something disastrous would happen to my firing because of this transit, but instead it happened to me. My best guy is firing the kiln now for me, so maybe Venus gets the final word on this one. Well, healing to your foot and surprise, surprise, it never comes in the way you're expecting. The themes are consistent, but not in the way you expect. Isn't it so often like that? Venus opposite Uranus. I experienced arguing really bad with my girlfriend. She threw my prescription glasses out the window. And then the next sentence just reads, "We might break up." I mean, it's not funny, but it is. I'm really sorry. I hope you were able to get, I hope you can see. First of all, I hope you guys, you know, I think there's a good chance that there's two sides to the story with this one. But who knows? Who am I to say? All right. So anyway, Venus opposite Uranus. Last week, I got stopped in the street by two old ladies. I have light blue hair, and they wanted to let me know they found it ugly and even bad morally to dye it that color. Well, sorry that the fun police came and rained on your parade. You let your blue hair flag fly, my friend. Venus opposite Uranus. I work at a massage spa, and today while I was in the hall, I heard a woman threatening to call the cops because apparently a woman at work was on her phone during the massage session. The client felt violated, and the cops were called, and there was a report filed about the therapist's behavior during the massage. she's rubbing. She's like, "Yeah, Steve, what are you doing tonight?" It's like, I don't know what was going on there, but I could see why someone would be offended. You could call the police over it. You could probably, I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know. Mercury square Pluto. We're going to do a lot more Mercury square Pluto next week, so stay tuned for that. But here it is. Here's one Mercury square Pluto. There is a secret internal investigation where the adept for an academic degree of professor has been accused of plagiarism, and it is shedding a very bad light on the reputation of the whole university, possibly a lawsuit in the air. There's that thing that's revealed. So that's difficult. That's a tough one. Hope everything goes well. And, you know, I find, just as an aside, like, I find that one of the most difficult but helpful exercises when someone has done something wrong and it's hurting you or hurting people around you, not only, of course, to pray for the healing of any victims involved, but also to pray for the person who, you know, whoever is in the wrong. That's a hard prayer to pray, but I find that it's helpful for me to start making peace, to pray for the soul of the person who might be troubled. So who knows what led that person to do that, you know? So at any rate, these are all really, really good stories. So I wanted to say a few things at the end because Venus and Uranus are a provocative pairing, right? And I want to say a few things. One, there is nothing as provocative as living with the gods in your daily life. I can't think of one thing in my life that is more provocative, shocking, interesting, and unexpected than living day to day, hand to hand, walking down the streets of this beautiful world with the gods, knowing that divinity in all of its faces and all of its different manifestations are with me. There's nothing more provocative and shocking than that, in both ways that are challenging. Nothing, people can't shock you more than the gods. Relationships can't shock you more than living life with these divine forces. And any kinds of changes that come and go, what lasts is the feeling of awe and reverence and beauty and mystery. There's nothing as provocative as living with the gods in our life day to day. Second thing I want to say is that there's no relationship that will last as long as the relationship with divinity if we cultivate it in our heart and soul. There's nothing that will surprise us more on a day-to-day basis with love and beauty and knowledge and insight than cultivating a relationship with divinity. Every other relationship at some point will go through Venus and Uranus twists and turns, won't it? It's just natural. It's nothing bad. It's just a natural part. But it's so much better if at the core of our lives, the central relationship that we have is with divinity, because these faces of God through the planets appear in our everyday life. And that relationship is one that is eternal. There is no boss. We talked a lot about bosses today. There's no boss like the soul, right? Isn't that the truth, that the CEO of your soul, there's just no messing with that person, with whatever that being is. It's the best of friends. There is no soulmate that you could ever have that's quite like the indwelling self. Don't you forget it. There's no spa. We talked about spas today. There is no spa like the daily spa of bathing with these stars. There is no breakup for the soul that is wed to its source. And that's important because there's a lot of breakups we do in life with jobs and people, and it's really painful at times. Finally, to the woman who was left in the hospital room after the miscarriage, man, that one really hit me. I hope it hit you guys too. But, I just wrote down, we are midwives of soul. So whatever happens or doesn't happen, whatever we have as failures, disappointments, victories, the real purpose of our lives on the whole, if we can think about it, not just in terms of this lifetime, but of 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now, as our soul continues to develop, if you can look back at this lifetime and say that all those painful events where we're left or abandoned or blamed or whatever, that our ego, this temporary little self, is here to help the soul come forth. So I hope for that woman that I hope that your soul has been born just a little bit more through all of that. I have no doubt it will. Okay, that was a hard one. Sorry. So at any rate, leave my Cancerian tears aside. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Don't forget that next week, we have a ton of great astrology to be breaking down as the new moon starts coming through. Lots of amazing astrology to break down this month of October. Be good to yourselves, track the planets, and they will walk with you like your best friends in this lifetime. That's something I witness every day. I'm so glad to share these stories with you guys, and have a great weekend, everybody. Take it easy. Bye.